Let's look at this topology, girls. And we have like 6 networks, 4 LANs, and 2 WANs. Do you get this? Each LAN has a name A, B, C, D. Then LAN has already, or the LANs have already been subnetted. So we need to apply the configurations to the topology. What we're going to do, we're going to do what? As usual, we will give the first address to the router, default gateway, the last address to the switch, and the next available addresses to the BCs. So let's start with the easiest, network B. Look at network B. It starts from 112.30.00 slash what? 26. So let us see here. What's the subnet mask here? 255.255.192. Is this clear? What's the first address? 1112.30.01. What's the last address? 1112.30.062. Do you agree? The broadcast is what? 1112.30.063. Any question about network B? Clear? Yalla, let's go to network A. Starts at what? 28. You need to be careful with binary calculations. Tamam? So let's see here. What's the subnet mask? 227, 255, 255, 255, 224. Do you agree? What's the first usable address? 1112.30.0.129. What's the last usable address? 1112.30.0.158. The broadcast will be 159. Okay, if you calculate it in binary, you'll get these numbers: 1112 and 30.0.159. Does that make sense, Yabanat? Let's do some configuration here. I'll go to network B in the beginning. Okay, network B is connected to router 3. Which port is this? G001. So I'll configure the router. I know the default gateway is going to be the first usable address for both LANs, A and B. I'll start with B. Okay, this is our router. Okay, let's see here. Enable conf T. Okay, let's configure B. Interface VLAN IP. What's the interface? GI 001. Then IP address. First one is 1112.30.0.1. What's the subnet mask? 255.255.192. See, when you write addresses and things ahead, you will not be probably make mistakes. Tamam. Okay, no shut. Good. Let's configure the default gateway of network A. What's the first address in network A? 1112.30.0.129, right? Which port is connected to network A? So you can switch directly. GI 000. Now I am configuring 000. IP address 1112.30.0.129, 255.255.224. Is it correct, Yabanat? No shut. So I believe we configured both LAN interfaces. So I'll go to the switch. Switch of network B. What's the last address here of network B? I'll give it to the switch, so we don't make mistakes. Do you see the address? So I'll go to this one. Remember, you need to configure the switch with VLAN 1 management address, and also all switches need to know their default gateway. Did you get this? So enable conf T interface VLAN 1. Start with this. IP address. What is it? 1112.30.0.62. What's the subnet mask for LAN B? 192, right? And make sure no shut. Good. So now we configure the management address of the switch, the SVI. Now I need to tell the switch its default gateway. I need to go back to the default configuration mode and IP default gateway. What's the IP default gateway? First address, which is 01. Does that make sense, Yabanat? So end copy run start, and we are done with the switch. Let me go to switch of network A. This is the address of the switch in network A. Tamam. So I'll go here, CLI, okay, enable conf T, interface VLAN 1, IP address What's the last address? Usable address 1112.30.158. Tamam. What's the subnet mask? 224, صح? 255, 224. No shut. Good. You need to go back to the global configuration to set the default gateway for this LAN, which is 1112.30.129. Does that make sense, Yavana? So here, exit and copy, run, start. Let's go to the BCs. We'll start with BCs here. Of course, the BCs will be easy. This one, BC2, will be given address 2. Tamam? Clear, I believe. And this one will be given address what? 3. Let's just do it first here. This one will be given 2, 255, 255, 255, what? 192. And this is the default gateway, done. And I'll go to this one and also configure it with the proper IP address and make sure always to double check the subnet mask, because usually they use the default classful subnet mask. Done with network B. I can go now to network what? Network A. I give addresses here. Tell me, Allah. This is 130. Good. And this is going to be 131. Clear. So I go here and configure this with 130, 255, 255, 255, 224. And this is the default gateway. If I make a mistake, correct me, girls. Tamam. I go to this one now. And this will be what? 131. Same subnet mask for all devices in the LAN and same default gateway. So I believe we configure the two LANs, A and B. It's time to check if they can ping each other. So let me just go to simulation. I'm filtering which protocol? ICMP. You know, ping uses ICMP. I'll just go to BC0. I'll try to ping BC3. Do you see BC3? So ping 1112, what? 30.03. Run. It should work. Why it should work? Because router R3 is directly connected to LAN A and LAN B. Do you agree? So the routing table of router 3 has already knowledge of both directly connected LANs. If it fails, I really don't know, maybe misconfigured. I see it failing now. So let's see. Maybe I misconfigured something, which is a good idea since we are recording. Let's see how to, if it's misconfigured. If it fails again, it's okay. No, it worked now. You know why the first ping fails, right, Abanat? It fails because it times out. Because all the ARP tables and switch MAC address tables and the router ARP tables need to be, and if you use packet tracer simulation, it will be also slower. So is the ping successful now? So tamam, clear. I'll go back to real time. Let us check the routing table of router 3. I just can go here and show IP route. How many networks you see? Actually, it's 2. And both are using what? What is the type of the network? C. And what is C, Abanat, here? So both are directly connected. Don't worry now about L. L is not a network, actually. L is the default gateway. Tamam? Good. Don't worry about it now. So C, 2 networks directly connected. Now I need to configure the WAN. Let's see the WAN. Okay, good. The network is given, network F. And the IP addresses also are given. You know, when it's /30, what's the thing? You have only 2 addresses. And the subnet mask for /30 is what, Yabanat? 255, 255, 255, 252. Now let's see what's this port here. This is 020. I need to configure it with which address? 200.001/ what? 30. So I'll go to this. I'll go to, again, take this here. Now, good. Interface serial 020. Conf T first. Interface serial 020. IP address. Give me the IP address. 200.001 subnet mask /30.252. no shot. If it's a WAN, ya Banat, and you make no shot, it will not turn green. This port will not turn green. Why? Because the other port is still shut down. For a WAN to be operational, both ends must be on. You get this? So now I configured this actually now, but I still need to go to R1. And in R1, I only need to configure this port. Let us see what's the port name here. The port name is, let me just make it here. The port name is serial 021. Tamam. So I'll go back to this one and configure only this side, CLI. Okay, enable conf t interface serial 021. Yes or no? صح? IP address. What the IP address? 200 002 255 255 255 252. No shut. Now see, when I do no shut, let me just show you this. The connection will turn this moment. You see? Now the WAN is working between router 1 and router 3. So we configured IP addresses. Now if I go back to router 3, actually you will find 3 networks in the routing table of router 3. The new network is the WAN, right? Because it was off, but now it's what? It's on. So if I click here and I go to router 3 and show IP route, clearly we have how many directly connected networks? This is network B, this is network A, and this is the one between router 3 and router 1. If you want to quickly see the routing table, you can go to the inspector tool here and click on the routing table and see, and I will see here how many. Oh no, I clicked on router 1, right? I need to click on router 3, and you see all the directly connected networks, A, B, and 1. Now let us see connectivity. Connectivity, where can we reach? I will try to, from BC0, and this is BC0, I will try to ping the router. I will first try to ping the port, this port, which is what? Let us make it larger. Here, you see this port, serial 020. This port has an address, right? Which is what? 200.0.0.1. Do you think it's going to work? I think it is, because router R3 is connected to the network A, B, and the WAN. So if it receives anything from any of these networks, it knows how to forward it, right? IP protocol. So I go to this one. I'll ping the router port, the near port, not the large, far one. Worked? Yes. Next, I will try again from same PC 0 to ping R1 port, which is the 200.0.0.2 port. This one. What do you think? I think there will be a problem. Why? Because all the decisions of the router are based on what? The contents of its routing table. If you go to the routing table of router 1, actually, you will find only, see, only the WAN. This router does not know anything in the world about other than this one. Remember, the router makes decision based on the contents of its what? A routing table. So now, I will try to ping, and the ping fails, but I will later show you why it fails. I will go here. I now pinging 02. 02 is router R1, and let me show you the ping here. Sorry, the ping, and the ping fails. I'm trying to ping. I'll switch to simulation after this. See, times out, times out, times out 4 times. So I will show you where the ping fails actually. Actually, this ping always goes to the router R1, but it cannot come back. The ping from PC0 will always go and ping what? Router 1, but it's a one-way ticket. It does not know how to come back. Why it does not know how to come back? Simply because what? Because what? Router R1 does not know how to reply to network A, because network A is not in the routing table of network A, of router 1. Does that make sense? Yalla, let me show you this now. I'll do the same thing, but now using also simulation. Same command, you have an at here. Okay, good. Run. See? It reaches router 3. Router 3 knows 200.0.0.2. Yes or no? So it will forward it. Now it reaches router 1. It needs to reply to network A. But router 1 does not know anything about network A. See where it fails? Is it clear? It fails at router 1 because it doesn't know how to reply. So how do you think this problem can be solved? Manually. We are not studying routing protocols. We are just studying some basic routing protocols and manual configuration. The solution is to tell router 1 about network A. To tell it what to do. If it wants to go to network A, what to do? What do you think? Where it should go? Should it go to router 3? Yes or no? Yes. Why? Because router 3 is the router that is directly connected to network A and B. What we're going to do, Yabanat, here is simple configuration using static routing protocols. So I'll go to router 1. I'll use even configuration. I don't want you to worry about commands. We need to understand the concept. The commands change from routing protocol to another, but the concept is always the same. I'll go to routing static. Type. Which network I want to tell router 1 about? Network A, right? Okay. 11.12.30.0.128. Is it correct? What is the subnet mask of network A? 255, 255, 255, 224. Now, next hub. Next hub is, where do you want router 1 to forward the packet that is going to network A? Where do you want it to forward it to? Router 3, yes or no? Can you give me a port IP address on router 3? 200.0.0.1. If the packet is forwarded to 200.0.0.1, it will reach what? It will reach router 3. Is router 3 aware of network A? Why? Because it's directly connected. Now I'll click add. Look, Yabanat. Now, router 1 knows how to forward packets to which network? A. That's khalas. That's it, huh? Look at that routing protocol now, a routing table. Do you see something new? You see something new here. What do you see? The type. What is the type? S for what, ya Dana? Static. Yes, this is manually configured. This is not directly connected. This is manually configured. Does that make sense? So now, if router 1 receives anything that is destined or must be forwarded to network A, it will send it to the next hub. What's the next hub here? What's the next hub? Which is what? Which is the port of router 3 to the 1. Yes or no? Yalla, let's see if it's going to work or not. I'll go back to simulation. I'll go to this one here and repeat the same command now. Okay, and let's see. Now, router 3 already knows the port of router 1. The new thing that router 1 now knows how to forward packets to network A. Look now. Now, router 1 will open its routing table. Yeah, I know network A. I just need to send it back to 200.0.0.1, which is connected to router 3. Does that make sense? Did it work now? Did it work? Good. صح? طيب. Good. Now, I'll reset simulation. If I ping from BC2, this is BC2. Is the ping going to be successful? No. No. Not yes. Why no? Because router 1 does not know anything about network B. Do you get this, Yabanat? Router 1 does not know anything about network B. So how to tell it about network B? Go here Go to config routing. Which type of routing, يا بنات? Static. What is network B? 1112.30.00. Subnet mask 255.255.192. Next hub. Next hub is the same, صح? Of network 1 because they are all connected to the same route. What is the next hub? 200.0.0.1. Does that make sense, يا بنات? Add. Oh, now this is which router is this? Router 1, right? Okay, good. Let me show you the routing table also before we ping. Oh, how many static networks? 2. One is A and B. Now I'll go from where? I'll go from BC2 and try to ping router 1. Ping 200.0.0.2 and run. Maybe the first time it's going to fail. You know why? But now at least router 1 knows how to forward the traffic that is what? Sent to which network? B. Okay, router 3 already knows. Now router 1 has a new configuration. Okay, خلاص, received it. Then it will check its routing table. Oh, this is going to network B. What is the next hub of routing network B? 200.0.0.1. So it will send it to 200. Once it reaches 200.0.0.1, router 3 knows everything about those 3 networks. Yes or no, Yabana? Does that make sense? Tamam? Okay, good. So now we have the other side, fast forward, configured. IP addresses all configured for network C, as you see here, and network D, and everything is configured. I also went to router R1 and added 2 static routes. So now router 1 knows network C. Here is network C and network D. So router 1 can reply to any ping from networks C and D. The same way we did for router networks A and B. Let me do some simulation now. I'm filtering ICMP. Let me just make sure I can ping the router. The port of the router 200.0.0.5. This is the port of the router. Let us make sure we can ping it from which PC? From BC, this one, BC 162. So I'll just ping router 1 200.0.0.5. And let's make sure, click. Let's see if it works. It should not fail, by the way. Okay. It goes from router 2 is already aware of the network E1. It will forward it. Now router 1 has already been configured with static routes about network C and D. So it will reply, and the reply is successful. So now both sides are configured, but they still cannot communicate. What do I mean by cannot communicate? If you try to ping from this PC, try to ping this PC, it will fail. Because router 3, this one, does not know anything about network C or network D. Router 2 also does not know anything about network A and network what? B. I can go and manually configure this with 1 entry for each network. Do you get this, Yabanat? 1 entry for each network. But this is going to be endless. If you have 50 networks, and if there are many other networks, we are just studying simple topology here. So what I'm trying to say now, is there a way to tell router 2 to forward all traffic, no matter what the destination is, to router 1, because router 1 knows better, and tell also router 3 to forward all traffic, regardless of the destination, to router 1, because router 1 knows better. Is router 1 aware of the 6 networks in this topology? Yes. 4 of them were configured with static routes. You agree with this? Look at this. 4 of them were configured with static routes, and 2, which is the 1.1 and 1.2, are directly connected. Does that make sense? So is router 1 aware of the entire topology? So is it fine to tell router 3, just send it to router 1. He knows better. And also to tell router 2, forward it to router 1 because router 1 is aware of all the topology. Tamam. So here what we're going to do, ya banat. We're going to go to static routes. Tamam. But now I will use what we call default route or default route. Default route means anything, any address, not a specific network. What is any address or anything? All what? All zeros. This is called default route. طيب. I am now at router 2. Where to forward any destination? To router 1, 200.0.0.5. Do you agree? And look at this. Add. Now, router 2 will forward everything to router 1. And router 1 knows all the subnets of this topology. But still, it's not going to work. If I try to ping from this PC, try to ping this PC, يعني, again, from this to this, it will fail. Where it will fail, this is the question. I can tell you it will fail. Let us first ping 1112.30.0.130. So I'm pinging this PC. It will fail in its way back. Why? Look at this now. Router 2 will forward all traffic to router 1. Tamam. Router 1 knows network A and network B. So it will forward it to the PC. Maybe it will be late first time, but it will work at the end. But now, when BC 130 replies, there will be a problem. Let's see now. First one times out, ya banat. It worked, but it timed out. Let's see now. Router 2 knows that anything should be sent to router 1. Router 1 knows that network C and A and B and D. So now it reaches router 3. It will reach the destination. Okay, good. Now the BC 130 will reply. And the reply reaches router 3. What's the destination? Network D or network C. Is router 3 aware of network C? So do you see it at this moment? Do you see it dropped? So now, again, so what do you suggest? I need to go to router 3 again and tell it and give it a default route. Do you agree with this? So I'll go to this one, static. What's the default route? Zeros. Where to forward it? To router 1. What is the IP address? 200.0.0.2. Do you agree with this? Tamam. Now I'll go and I will repeat the same order here. I will ping from across the ocean. And let us see now. It should work. Router 3 does not know network A, but it knows that R1 knows better. So it will forward it to R1. R1 knows network A, and it knows anything going to A should be given to router 3. Now, after a second, now the BC replies, router 3 actually does not know network C, right? But it knows that router 1 knows better. Do you get this? And let us see, hopefully it should work. So if you use static route, usually default route is used as terminal networks, not networks in the middle. Tamam? Again, one more time, I'm not teaching you, by the way, routing. This is the very basics of static routing, but you understand the concepts, how routers work, regardless of the routing protocol. Was it successful? So one final thing. I will go to router 2, CLI. I want you now to see something here. Show IP route. What do you see? It knows 2 directly connected networks, but now static, huh? But what do you see next to static? Star. If you see star next to static, it means what? Default. This is a default route. Default route means anything, Dana. Anything, right? So again, I'll go to router what? Router, this one, CLI, and show IP route. Again, what do you see here? Star. However, now we already gave 4 static routes to who? To router 1, right? But none of them was what? Default. Is there a star? So because these are not default routes, both are useful, both are needed. Tamam? But did you understand the concept of static route? If there is a router where you want to forward any traffic to another middle router, just use default route. Does that make sense? One final comment. Static routes are usually done manually. In real life, not all routing protocols are static. Actually, 90% of the configuration will be using what? Dynamic routing protocols. What's dynamic routing protocols? I'll give you very briefly. Yani Teletubbies simplification plus, which is what? Routers will exchange their routing table with neighbor routers. So router A tells router B about its routing table. Router B tells router C about its routing table. After some time, after this complete exchange, one full cycle, all the routers will understand everything about the topology. However, still, static routes have some specific uses beyond the scope of this lecture, and dynamic routes are used. And if you are registering Network 2 course, you will do a lot of routing in that course.